Hi, 7th graders. We are on lesson 6-1, which starts on page 306 in your notebook, your textbook. It might be helpful to follow along as there's more diagrams and pictures and things in your textbook. So it may help if you have it. Otherwise, after the video, you can always go back and look at your textbook as well. So our learning targets are identifying special angle pairs and finding the missing angle measurements when parallel lines are cut by a transversal. Okay, so there's also a lot of vocabulary words in this lesson. So if you have the chapter 6 vocab sheet, I would take it out. There's definitions and examples on here, so make sure you fill them in. If you don't have the vocab sheet, you can wait and fill it in when you get it, or you can put them on your notes. If you're putting it on your vocab sheet, I would include these in your notes as well, because these are going to be important to remember what they are. So vertical angles are opposite angles formed by intersecting lines. They are congruent. So if we look at this diagram here and we look at angle 1, 2, 3, and 4, vertical lines are opposite angles. So we would have, so examples of vertical lines would be angle 1 and angle 2. This one is a horrible angle sign. And then we would have angle 3 and angle 4. Because we have two intersecting lines, 1 and 2 are opposite from each other, and it looks like we can see that they are approximately the same angle, so they are equal. And then angle 3 and angle 4 are equal, so they would be examples of vertical angles. Complementary angles are two angles that have a sum of 90. So if you see we have a 90-degree angle, these two angles, we would say angle ABD. Our vertex is always the middle letter. ABD is 50, and DBC is 40. 50 plus 40 equals 90. Okay, supplementary angles are two angles that have a sum of 180. So these ones are not connected on the same line, but if we put them together, they would form a line, or 125 plus 55 equals 180. So the two angles added together, if they equal 90, they're complementary. If they equal 180, they're supplementary. So here's some examples. We have two intersecting lines. X and 150 are opposite from each other. So that means they are vertical angles. So we have X then equals 150 degrees. I'll have to do a little degrees. Okay, we can see A, B, and C is a 90-degree angle. Okay, we will assume that. So then we know that 65 plus X equals 90. So we would have 65 plus X equals 90. And then we know to solve that we can subtract 65 on both sides. So then 90 minus 65 would be 25. So then we would have X equals 25 degrees. Because 65 plus 25 equals 90. Okay, a straight line is a 180-degree angle. So then we know that these two angles are supplementary because these two added together have to equal 180. And we remember supplementary, our angles equal 180. So then we would have X plus 38 equals 180. Shoot. There. And then we would subtract 38 from both sides. and we would get x equals 42 degrees. Okay, if we look at these ones, it's a little bit trickier, but first we can see that, so if we look at the angles given to us and see what we can use to help us, we know that there's no, that would be B, FBE is 150 degrees. So if we can find and since there's, well, a few lines being intersected, but there's two lines being intersected right here. So we know that if we can find a vertical angle, then we can use our 150. So if you notice that this line, I'm trying to follow it with my mouse, is 150, then our vertical angle right here, GBD, is 150 also, okay? Because this angle is vertical to this angle. Let's do this. That angle is vertical to that angle. So now we know that 95 plus x equals 150. Because this whole angle has to equal 150. So then 95 plus x equals 150, and then we subtract 95 from 150, and we get 55. Let's extend our page here. So then x equals 55 degrees. Okay, so now here we can see that we have 110, and then we know that, so we have a vertical angle again. So we know that 110, so this angle is congruent. No, it's not congruent. We know that okay, yeah, this angle 110 is congruent to this angle right here. I was confused there for a second. So then we know that 75 plus x equals 110. I'm second guessing myself because that doesn't look totally right, but it is right. So 75 plus x equals 110, and then we take 110 minus 75, and we get x equals 35 degrees. Okay? So perpendicular lines are two lines that intersect at a right angle. So we can see these two lines are perpendicular because we have our right angle right there. So we would write it as M is perpendicular to N, and we would use this sign right here. Two lines in the same plane that never intersect is parallel lines. So P and Q are parallel, and we would write it right down here with these two lines. P is parallel to Q. Okay? Transversal is a line that intersects two or more lines. So if we are looking at this diagram right here, we can see that C intersects with A and B. So our transversal line is C because it's intersecting with A and B. Okay? So interior and exterior lines go along with the transversal. So we have C, and then we have A and B. So our interior angles lie inside the two angles. So the interior angles then are angle 4, angle 3, angle 6, and angle 5. Okay? So our black dots go with our interior angles. And then our exterior angles would be 1, 2, 8, and 7. So they lie outside the two lines. So interior, inside, exterior, outside. Okay, if the two lines being cut by a transversal are parallel, then these special pairs of angles are congruent. So you can see that our transversal is P, and then it's intersecting through L, and intersecting through M, and L and M are parallel. So these two lines have to be parallel in order for these angles that we're going to talk about in a second to work. So we have alternate interior angles. So our interior angles would be 5 and 6 and 2 and 4. Alternate interior angles. So angle 5 and angle 4. Angle 5 and angle 4 because they are opposite from each other. Okay, are congruent. And the way that we would write that then is with a wavy little line and then an equal sign. So angle 5 and angle 4, and as you can kind of see, it is, they are similar angles. So then also angle 6 and angle 2 would be congruent. I'm using my mouse on my computer, so I apologize that my writing is really bad. Angle 6 is congruent to angle 2. Then we have alternate exterior angles, which are, remember, our exterior angles would be 1, 3, 8, and 7. So same type of thing. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 7, and then angle 3 is congruent to angle 8. So angle 1 is congruent to angle 7, and angle 3 is congruent to angle 8. And then we have our corresponding angles. So that would be our angles that are on they're the same position on the two lines in relation to the transversal. So which ones would those be? Let's change our color. So we would have angle, so if we look at these angles for line L and then these angles for line M, it would be the angles in the exact same position in relation to the transversal. So corresponding angles then would be angle 1 is corresponding to angle 2. So we have angle 1 in the same spot as angle 2, and then we would have 5 and 8, 3 and 4, and 6 and 7. So all of those would be corresponding. So angle 3 is corresponding to angle 4. And I won't write them all. Then we would write angle 5 corresponds to angle 8. Angle 6 corresponds to angle 7. Okay? I would like, oh, no, we're going to do this example together. And then I'll have you take the NICU quiz, in which then you will be practicing the problems on your own. So we're going to find the missing measurements. So we're going to use everything that we've learned, or some of what we've learned. So we are given that angle 1 is 85 degrees. Okay? So we know that if angle 1, so if we just look at P and L, well, we know that 1 and 6 are vertical angles, and we know that 3 and 5 are vertical angles. So right away, I know that angle 6 then is going to be 85 degrees as well. I also know that this line L is 180 degrees. So the angles on it need to equal 180 degrees. So that means 85 plus something equals 180. So we can take 180 minus 85, which would be 95. And so then I know that angle 3 is 95 degrees. And because 3 and 5 are vertical, I know that angle 5 then is also 95 degrees. Okay, so if we look at our alternate interior angles, we know that angle 5 and angle 4 are alternate interior angles, and so they would be the same angles, so then I know that angle 4 is also 95 degrees. I also know that angle 3 and angle 4 are corresponding angles, so that's a good way for me to check to see, yep, 3 is 95 degrees also, so 4 should be 95. So 4 and 8 are vertical, so then we would have that as 95 degrees, and then, oops, I know that 95 plus 85 equals 180, because my line M should be 185 degrees, so then angle 7 is 85 degrees, and number 2 is vertical, or angle 2 is vertical to angle 7, so then that would be 85 degrees as well. Okay, so feel free to go back and watch the lesson, or feel free to look in the book. Make sure you sign into NICU and take the 6-1 NICU quiz. Have a super evening.